Hello everyone and welcome back to the Elegant Edit and to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing two books from the same author, Carley Fortune, Every Summer After and One Golden Summer. So I've heard amazing things about these books and they definitely lived up to the hype, which is rare in my opinion. Now I am somewhat picky with my romance books. With books in general, I am not willing to give 5 stars to anything and everything. So you can trust that my review is going to be brutally honest, but I loved these books, okay? So it's going to be a good review. Spoiler free, so you don't have to click out of the video at any point. If you've read the book or not, feel free to watch the entire video. So we're going to dive in. I'm so excited to talk about these books. So first, I want to tell you how I discovered Carley Fortune and her books, and of course I did that through TikTok and Book Talk. Judge me all you want, but I do get a lot of my book recommendations from TikTok. A lot of the recommendations can be really good, some not so good, but I took a chance on these and fell in love with them and it was 100% worth it. So yeah, I discovered her books through TikTok. I'm not mad at that. So a little bit about Carley Fortune for you. She is an award-winning journalist. She worked as an editor for The Globe, Toronto Life, and more. And she eventually quit her job to become an author, and she currently lives in Toronto as well. Her writing style is very whimsical, definitely focused on the summertime. I think all of her books take place in the summertime. She grew up going to the lake in Canada, so I feel like a lot of her books center around that, especially these two take place in Barry's Bay, which is a real place, I believe, and Carley spent a lot of time there growing up. So yeah, they're whimsical summer reads with somewhat deeper themes in there as well, but overall it's nothing too crazy. They're mostly lighthearted, but again, there's always some deeper themes in there. I feel like there kind of have to be to make it more relatable. Life is not always sunshine and rainbows, of course. She has a really, really great sense of humor and a very mature writing style without being, I don't know, boring, I guess. It's very fun and exciting, her books. And I want to share with you the reading order as well. So actually, Every Summer After was her first book, which is really crazy because it did so well for her first book. It's I think it's a fan favorite for sure. So Every Summer After came out in 2022, and then she has other books. So then came Meet Me at the Lake, which was 2023. Then This Summer Will Be Different, 2024, and then One Golden Summer came out this year, 2025, and it is truly the book of the summer, you guys. I'm so glad I listened to what people had to say about it because it really lived up to the hype. Phenomenal book. So yeah, she also has a new book coming out next year. She has announced the cover for it and it's beautiful. It's called Our Perfect Storm and it comes out May 5th, 2026. I think that's right. I think it's May. I will double check for you, but yes, I am very excited for it. From what I have heard other people say, these are definitely her better two. I think Meet Me at the Lake and This Summer Will Be Different don't have as good of reviews as these two do, so just something to keep in mind if you want to get into Carley's books. Maybe start with Every Summer After and then go to One Golden Summer, and if you liked these, maybe then you can go back to her other two books and decide for yourself if you want to continue. Also, Every Summer After is being turned into a TV series, you guys, with Amazon. Oh my goodness. So the cast was announced, I think mid-July, and I hadn't read this until this month, which is August. And so I looked back and I was so excited to find out that it's being turned into a show. So I cannot wait. I'm sure that'll probably come out probably next summer because they're already filming. And so yeah, I really, really hope it's good because I always get nervous. I think any book lovers get nervous about when our favorite books are turned into TV shows and movies. Because they don't always do the best job with it. I know they can't include every single little detail in a movie like they do in the book, but I really hope they stay close to this storyline, and I really, really hope they also give One Golden Summer a TV show too, because, and hopefully the same actors, because this book, I loved it. So yeah, I really hope they maybe do like season 2 is One Golden Summer, but we will see. So far that has not been announced. I'm not sure if it's in the plans, but let's cross our fingers. Alright, so I think it is time we dive into these books. Again, I'm not going to be sharing spoilers, so don't worry about that. I'm going to start with some of the tropes and themes in this book first. So in this book we have childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance, dual timelines, slow burn, set in the summertime by a lake in Canada, and somewhat coming of age. A few of the trigger warnings in this book, as well as the spice level. So the trigger warnings, I would say panic attacks, death of a parent by cancer, and in the words of Carley Fortune, somewhat of a betrayal happens in this book. I can't go into detail on that. Many people have strong opinions about that, so call it what you want. She calls it a betrayal, but you'll have to read to find out what that means. The spice level for this book, I give low to medium. I feel like actually quite low. There are maybe one or two scenes, but they're not super graphic. They're quite mild, I would say. So just keep that in mind though if that's not something you like. I'm pretty sure it's quite easy to skip over that. I wouldn't let it put you off, but it does take place in this book. So just keep that in mind. They're a little spicy and nothing too crazy. So let's dive into what this book is about. I am looking down at my laptop so I don't forget anything. So Sam and Percy are childhood best friends. They meet when Percy's parents kind of rent this cottage. I don't know if they own it, but they rented a cottage, I guess I'll say, on the lake in Barry's Bay, which is in Canada. They are around 13 years old when they first meet each other, and they quickly become friends, and eventually they are inseparable and they do absolutely everything together. They see each other every summer and over the holidays when Percy's family comes back to the lake. And they grew up together from the ages of 13 to 18, and eventually their relationship did lead to something more romantic around the age of 18. But something big and dramatic happened at that time that led them to drift apart, and they were not a part of each other's lives for 12 years after that. So in present day, 12 years later, it's been 12 years since Percy has seen Sam after a huge mistake was made. And she gets a very important phone call that brings her back to Barry's Bay, where she reunites with Sam. When she meets up with Sam again, their chemistry is undeniable. It's strong. It is there. There's a lot of love there, but there's also a lot of hurt there now. So they kind of have to navigate that pain. They have to bring back memories that they don't want to have to talk about, but they do have to talk about them. And they have to face this mistake head on to realize, or not to realize, but to figure out whether or not they can make their relationship work this time. So it is also a second chance romance. So this story is told over the course of 6 years and 1 weekend. Percy is an editor for a magazine, and Sam is a cardiologist. They are both around 31 years old in present day. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things I liked and disliked about this book, but I'm going to be honest and say that there's not a whole lot that made me dislike the book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so clearly I loved it. The things I disliked weren't so massive to where I was like, oh my god, I need to put the book down, I don't like it. It was nothing like that, but there were just minor things that I want to share. So what I liked about the book, first of all, the setting and all of the summer activities, all of the swimming and the boat rides. The setting truly feels like a character in itself, and I think Carley is amazing at writing her settings. I think it helps that Barry's Bay is a real place, but either way, even if she made up a place completely in her head, I think she would do a phenomenal job of describing it. It truly brings you into the book. You feel like you're there. You feel like you can truly envision it yourself, and I think that makes her books perfect for summer reading. Or maybe you want to read it midwinter when you want to escape somewhere nice. But either way, I just think she is an incredible writer, and yeah, the setting is a character in itself. Also, again, the book goes over relatable teenage struggles and life lessons that we all learn at those ages, and I think that makes the characters relatable and the storyline relatable in a lot of ways. It's all stuff, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it are things that we've all thought to ourselves when we were 13, 14, 15 years old. Maybe things we've done as well, mistakes we made maybe. There's a lot that you can relate to throughout this book, and you really see them grow throughout the story. I also feel like their friendship was just lovely to see it unfold from the beginning, when they were a bit awkward together to where they were so close, doing literally everything together. It was lovely to see them come together like that, and for it to not be romantic so soon. I think if I remember correctly, there were feelings for each other throughout the years that they were friends, but they didn't act on it until much later on in time when they were around 18 years old. So I kind of loved the buildup of their friendship and that they were friends for so long first, and I think that always strengthens a relationship. I also didn't feel like this book was boring at any point. Every chapter I was very excited to see what came next. I wasn't like constantly thinking about it or wanting to pick this book up constantly, I guess, but when I did, I was very invested in the story and excited to see where it was going. And lastly, I also love the cover. The artwork on her books I think is absolutely stunning, and if you have not seen the cover for her new book coming out next year, you need to see it. It is incredible. But I just think the artwork is so lovely, and I really think it stands out because these days a lot of romance books have the cartoon characters on the covers, and I don't mind those, to be honest. Like, I don't know, I don't buy a book because of the cover, but it does help if it has a really nice cover, and I just think this artwork is really, really lovely on all of her books. So I don't know who does the artwork for it. It might say somewhere, but yeah, incredibly beautiful and so summery. And now for just a few things I didn't love so much about this book, and I think I'm going to start with the biggest one, which is the fact that we spend more time in the past than we do in the present with this book. Now I understand that because this is about childhood friends to lovers and they have a lot of history, we need to understand that history. As readers, we need to be invested in their love story. We need to know how things happened, why they happened the way that they did, in order to root for these characters and root for their love story. So I understand why there is a lot of background info that we as readers need to know about these characters, but at the same time, it was a lot more time in the past than in the present, and to be honest, I do prefer reading about characters who are more around my age instead of teenagers or kids. Like I'm an adult. I like reading more adult books, and so yeah, I you know, it was quite young in that way, but again, I understand why it had to be. It was still beautiful to watch their story unfold, but yeah, it's quite young because of that. We are following them from the ages of 13 to 18, and then in present day, which is again not very much of the book. So yeah, just keep in mind that a lot of this book takes place in the past, which may not be a huge deal to you, but I thought it was important to mention it anyway. Another thing that I guess you could say I disliked was that the conclusion wrapped things up very, very quickly. And I feel like that happens a lot with romance books anyway. I feel like usually something big and dramatic happens toward the end of the book, and then they come together so quickly and it's like, oh my gosh, I have whiplash from that. And a part of me doesn't mind it, but it was just quite quick. There's like very quick forgiveness and it's very quick moving on, we're moving forward, and I guess in a way for the characters it's a good thing, but as a reader, yeah, I kind of wish the ending was drawn out a little bit more. Maybe that's just me, but I think I saw some other people say the same. Another thing is that there is no dual point of view with this book, and so many people, myself included, love dual point of view, and especially with this story. I feel like it could have been really great to have Sam's point of view. It's told with Percy's point of view, but there were so many moments where I'm like, oh, I wonder what Sam was thinking. I wonder what, you know what I mean, what his internal monologue would have been like. So I kind of wish it was dual point of view, but I think in an interview, Carley said she does not write dual point of view, and I'm not sure if she plans to, but I would be so curious to know what Sam's inner monologue would have been. And lastly, I will say that a lot of people, myself included, agree that this book is very, very similar to Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I think I liked this one better. Love in Other Words did come out first, I believe, but I kind of think I prefer this one. So if you liked this book, you'll probably like Love in Other Words, but I wouldn't read them back to back just because they're way too similar. I read Love in Other Words a couple months ago and this one in August, but yeah, they definitely have a lot of similarities, so just keep that in mind. Now we are moving on to my favorite, One Golden Summer. So again, this came out this year. It is the book of the summer, truly. If you have not read it, you really, really should. So, some of the tropes and themes in this book. We have friends to lovers, friends with benefits a little bit, forced proximity, slow burn, lots of tension and flirting, opposites attract, set in the summertime at the lake in Canada, and kind of this theme of aging and accepting that life is really short and that you should do the things you want to do. I was trying to think of the trigger warnings for this one, and all I could really come up with was grief and some medical content. Other than that, I really couldn't think of what else would be a trigger warning for this book, but if you want to do your own research into that, feel free. If I missed anything you might want to know going into this book. The spice level for this book is the same as Every Summer After. I would say low to medium. There are a few scenes, again, they're not very graphic, similar to Every Summer After. Probably pretty easy to skip over, but it is there. It's spicy a little bit. So when Alice was 17 years old, she spent one summer at the lake in Barry's Bay, and she took one standout photo that basically launched her career as a photographer. So in present day, Alice's grandmother breaks her hip, and Alice decides that she wants to take her grandmother to Barry's Bay for the summer. But a man named Charlie, which is Sam's brother, yes, Sam from Every Summer After, Charlie is in that book as well, but this is his book. So a man named Charlie ends up kind of disturbing the peace a little bit. Alice realizes that Charlie is the man in the photo that she took all those years ago, and this is kind of the invisible string theory at play here. Charlie is a massive flirt. He's a bit of a player, he's very charming, very good looking. He's a very fun, light-hearted guy to be around, and Alice finds that really intriguing, and he's quite opposite to her again. She's, I don't know, just a bit more reserved, and she's never really gotten out of her comfort zone a whole lot in her life, so he really brings that out of her, which was lovely to see. So yeah, he's never really had serious relationships. He's always just been that kind of guy. He dated around a lot. And despite how different Alice and Charlie seem to be, they begin to get very close over the summer because in the cottage that she's staying in that summer, Charlie is technically her neighbor. So they are seeing a lot of each other that summer. And even though they both say as time goes on that they're just friends, it's very obvious that both of them are catching feelings for each other. While Charlie is very carefree and fun on the outside, as I guess this is quite realistic in a lot of ways, usually those people are dealing with something on the inside. The people who joke a lot, the people who are, you know, make it seem like they're just fun and lighthearted, usually are battling something internally, and that is true for Charlie. He's dealing with something that we don't really find out about till the end, so it keeps you on your toes for sure. But because of what he's battling with, it kind of stops him from committing to Alice fully, which frustrates her. And eventually they get a little too close for comfort, and they have to decide if now is the right time to kind of fall in love. But of course, do we really fully get to decide when and how we fall in love? I don't know. So Alice, of course, is a photographer, like I said, and Charlie is a banker in Toronto, but he is taking the summer off, and he's spending it in Barry's Bay, where he grew up. And yeah, he's been working on some of the cottages there, helping out a friend, and again, that does lead him close to Alice, taking care of things, helping her with her grandmother, making sure the cottage is suitable for her grandmother to be in. So yeah, lots of time spent together. It was amazing. I loved this book so much. So what I liked about this book, and then what I didn't like, although again, this book I couldn't fault. I actually gave this one 5 stars out of 5. So loved it. So what I liked, I loved the flirting, the tension, and the banter. Charlie and Alice, despite being so different, the sense of humor is just like off the charts. They're hilarious. I love that it bounces back and forth between them so easily, and it's just so fun. Like, I was giggling, kicking my feet reading this one, you guys. It was great. I loved it so much. I love how in some ways, again, opposites attract. I loved their chemistry, like I said, the banter between them. I loved the invisible string theory and how they had history through a photograph. I loved that whole, I just thought the storyline with that was so lovely. It shows that we are always connected to people, and sometimes those people can come back into your life. I hear so many stories like that in real life, so this isn't very unrealistic. I think it's actually, it could be someone's real life actually, so I think that was really great. I love the invisible string theory and the idea that there's someone or many people maybe who we're somehow connected to in life, and maybe we find them again and maybe we don't. Another thing I loved was just Alice as a character. I feel like I could relate heavily to her character. I feel like I am her in a character. I don't know if I've ever read about a character who I could relate to so much, and that always makes a book even better. I loved her so much. She's just a bit more reserved and quiet, kind of like me, and I just loved her character development as well, and Charlie's, but with Alice, just seeing how much she grew from the beginning and from when she was 17 to where she is now. It doesn't go into the past, except there's like a prologue where it talks about her taking that photo that changed her life, but other than that, it's fully in the present. But it's so nice to see her growth as a character. I really loved her, and also I loved her background and her family. Yeah, that was all really great. Her grandmother, I loved that character as well, and she was so rooting for Charlie. It was just the sweetest thing ever. Really funny. I also loved getting a deeper look into Charlie's character and seeing a different side of him, because he's still that fun, goofy, like, you know, charming guy in this book, even more so in this book, but we get to see such a different side to him in this one, especially toward the end. He opens up so much more, and you realize that he's not just this charming, good-looking guy. He's actually got a lot of heart, and he's actually just a really good guy who's been struggling with something in his life. So yeah, it was beautiful to see his character open up more in this one. Also, again, the setting with this one, it's the same, Barry's Bay. I just loved it so much. All of the things that Carley mentions about Barry's Bay, again, truly make you feel like you're living in this story yourself. So there's so many good things I could say about the way she writes the settings for these books, but you'd have to read it to really truly know and to really truly feel it. And then I also loved seeing the glimpses of Percy and Sam. You get to see cameos from them, a few scenes in this book, and it's so nice to see them, you know, in the future from that book, seeing them do really well. So I love that. And then again, this one was not boring at any point either. Like, this is the one where I was definitely very excited to pick up the book, couldn't put it down, loved it so much. I think I read both of them in like maybe 3-ish days, and yeah, this one I was just, again, giggling, kicking my feet, was so excited to see what came next. And at the end of every chapter, there was something that happened between Charlie and Alice that you're like, oh my gosh, like, that was so cute, what happens next? And I loved that. And then again, the artwork on the cover is phenomenal. The yellow boat, the iconic yellow boat, and just the beautiful scenery. It's lovely. Her covers are phenomenal. And lastly, what I didn't like, if we can call it that. Again, the ending does wrap up quite quickly, but not as much as Every Summer After. So I could forgive that. It didn't take off any points for me. Again, there's no dual point of view, but it would have been amazing to see Charlie's point of view with some of these scenes. I would have loved that. I kind of wish we got that. I hope that maybe one day she gives writing in dual point of view a try, because it's like my favorite thing ever. I love it. And then basically nothing else. So I didn't take off points for those things because to me it wasn't enough. Like, these things didn't make me hate it or dislike it. I truly loved this book. And for me, again, I'm quite picky, so that's saying something. But 5 out of 5 stars from me. And that is it for this book review. I truly loved these books, you guys, and I highly recommend reading them in order. If you were to read this one first, you would be majorly spoiled on something big that happens in this one. So try to read this one first if you can. Even though I think this one's better. But yeah, I couldn't love these books more, you guys, and I might give her other 2 books a try. I know they're not as highly rated, but maybe at some point. I'm not in a hurry to read them, but maybe at some point I will. And I'm very excited about her next book. But yeah, keep an eye out. Hopefully the Amazon series of Every Summer After will come out next year. Hopefully in the summertime. That would be most ideal, I guess. But could not recommend these books more, you guys. They are incredible and so worth reading. And to be honest, I have been in such a slump with reading because Abby Jimenez truly ruins all other books for me. You guys know she's my favorite author, but now I would say Abby Jimenez is a favorite author, Lucy Score is a favorite author, Carley Fortune, and Christina Lauren. I'd say those are my top 4 romance authors, or authors in general, because I mainly read romance. And again, that's saying something for me, because all year long, I read the Knock 'Em Out series from Lucy Score, like in January. Loved those books. I did a whole review on those, so check that out. But since then, I have not read a book this year that I truly loved or gave 5 stars since then, until this one. So if that tells you anything, again, coming from someone who's quite picky with her romances, it's the one to read. So I think that needs to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope I did a decent job of explaining the storylines and everything. I could have missed something, and if I did, I'll put it in after when I'm editing the video, but yeah, I love these books and couldn't recommend them more. So that is going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.